This is Daily Armenia, CivilNet's daily news digest. Here's what you need to know today. Anti-government protests continued today in Yerevan's Central Republic Square after clashes between demonstrators and law enforcement yesterday left at least 101 people injured in some of the worst scenes of violence Yerevan has seen in many years. Bagrat Galistanyan, the archbishop turned protest leader, rallied his supporters today outside a government building where Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan was set to hold his weekly cabinet meeting. As crowds gathered, Pashinyan postponed the meeting to tomorrow. After an hours-long sit-in on Republic Square that remained largely peaceful despite a heavy police presence, Galistanyan led his followers back to Bagramyan Avenue to prepare for another rally this evening. This comes after police fired at least 24 stun grenades in an effort to disperse crowds outside Parliament yesterday evening. In the ensuing chaos, at least 101 people were injured according to the Health Ministry, which did not distinguish between protesters and police officers in its tally. That included Narek Hayaryan, a CivilNet camera operator who suffered light injuries to his leg and head as he live-streamed the developments. At least 86 other people were detained according to police figures. Pashinyan quickly moved to defend law enforcement, calling the police response proportionate and professional, while Galistanyan decried officers' actions as terrorism and pledged to continue rallying his supporters in an effort to remove Pashinyan from power. Pashinyan once again indicated he plans to take Armenia out of the Collective Security Treaty Organization, a Russian-led military alliance, though he stopped short of formally announcing a withdrawal or providing any timeline. At a parliamentary budget hearing yesterday, an opposition lawmaker briefly interrupted Pashinyan in the middle of a speech to ask why Armenia was still part of the bloc, which has repeatedly declined to come to Armenia's defense despite treaty obligations. Pashinyan replied, "We will leave. We will decide when to leave. What do you think is our next step? How can we go back? There is no other way." Earlier this year, Pashinyan announced he had frozen Armenia's membership in the bloc, but yesterday's remarks represent some of his clearest comments on the matter to date. In response, a spokesperson for the Kremlin today said Moscow expects Yerevan to clarify its intentions. "We will continue to work with our Armenian friends, we will clarify their position, and we hope in any case that we will keep our partnership and allied relations," Dmitry Peskov told reporters. In related news, Pashinyan yesterday suggested he would in effect suspend diplomatic relations with Belarus, a fellow CSTO member and a key Russian ally, marking a major escalation in tensions. "I will never visit Belarus as long as Alexander Lukashenko is president. From now on, no official representatives of Armenia will visit Belarus," Pashinyan told lawmakers yesterday. Then today, Yerevan announced it was recalling its ambassador to Minsk. Soon after that, Belarus said it would do the same. Earlier last month, Pashinyan said he knew of at least 2 CSTO countries that actively aided Azerbaijan in the run-up to the 2020 Nagorno-Karabakh war. Though he did not name names, the remarks were widely seen as referring to Russia and Belarus. For her part, Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, the exiled Belarusian opposition leader, said in a post on X she welcomed Pashinyan's decision. The United States continues to strongly support a normalization deal between Armenia and Azerbaijan, with a senior State Department official saying Washington believes a peace agreement could significantly reshape regional geopolitics and trade. "In our view, there's a once-in-a-generation, maybe several generations opportunity to build a trade route from Central Asia across to the Mediterranean that can come only if there is peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan," Assistant Secretary of State James O'Brien said in an exclusive interview with Radio Azatutun, RFERL's Armenian service, published yesterday. Continuing, O'Brien said April's landmark border delimitation deal, which has sparked ongoing anti-government protests in Armenia, was a very good step forward and a very constructive basis for next steps, adding that the United States is hoping to see a full normalization agreement reached over the next weeks to months. In addition, O'Brien, who helps oversee U.S. foreign policy for the region, indicated the State Department is continuing to study Azerbaijan's attack on Nagorno-Karabakh last September, which led to the collapse of the local administration and the displacement of nearly all of the region's roughly 100,000 Armenians. "We've commissioned an independent review by an outside group, and we're still waiting for that group to come back with its conclusions. One of the issues of an independent review is we can't rush it, so we're still waiting for that," O'Brien said. O'Brien's remarks come just a day after he held wide-ranging talks with Armenian Foreign Minister Ararat Mirzoyan. Following those negotiations, Washington and Yerevan announced they would upgrade their relations to a strategic partnership. You can also check out the latest episode of CivilNet's weekly Insight series. This week, host Eric Hakopian discusses last night's clashes between protesters and police, the latest developments in the government's corruption case against former Economy Minister Vahan Kerobyan, and much more. You can find the full video up now on our website and YouTube channel. And finally, the CivilNet number of the day is 4. That's the number of times in the past year Yerevan's only synagogue has been vandalized. Most recently earlier this week, when an unidentified person threw a brick through one of its windows. Law enforcement quickly opened a probe into the incident, while Armenia's human rights ombudsperson stressed the importance of defending the rights of ethnic and religious minorities in the country. Armenia's small Jewish community is composed mostly of people who relocated from Russia after the start of the war in Ukraine. And as always, please follow CivilNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.